Jesse Ramos. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Very good. Celebrating 37 years tomorrow. Yeah.
Geez, congratulations.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's huge.
It was quick. Yeah, we're talking.
Mirta, it's Michelle, and we are ready when you are ready.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. I have one clock that says 3 p.m., another one 2:57. Might have to split it in between.
City computer says 2:57 as well.
Okay.
This is Don Schmidt. Can anyone hear me? Hello?
Don, this is Heather Harp. I can hear you just a little bit right now.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't have video.
Don,
Seem to get
Don, you appear to be logged in through two devices at the moment, and it's creating a feedback loop.
okay.
You are very faint in terms of your audio.
I can't. Hey, Gene, I got a feedback loop. They can't hear me talking. How about now?
I think it's about the same.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you faintly, but we can hear you. We can't see you though.
You may have to go to the conference room.
Okay, Michelle, let's get this meeting going. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the Public Works Committee of the Missoula City Council to order. We continue to meet virtually, and we just have on the screen now all the ways in which you can participate. You can log in and join us by clicking www.ci.missoula.mt.us webcasts, and you can also call City Council and leave a voicemail with your public comment at 406-552-6012. You can email your comments or questions to City Council by emailing council@ci.missoula.mt.us. If you are using your phone to provide your comments and you want to raise your hand, you do that by pressing *9. So with that, let's get going with the meeting. Let me pull up my first thing is roll call. And do we have Stacy Anderson?
Present.
Becerra is present. Contos,
Here.
okay. Harp,
Yes, I'm here.
yep. Hess,
Present.
Jones,
Present.
Merritt, I believe, will be absent for this meeting. Ramos,
Here.
Cheryl,
Present.
Vasika,
Present.
Von Lossberg is absent, and West is absent, I believe. Okay, and we have minutes from 9:23 to approve. Are there any changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, those will stand approved. I will take a moment to take any public comment on items not on the agenda. Let me see if I can see from any attendees. We don't have anyone from the public to provide public comments, so we will move to our agenda. And the first thing we have on our agenda is appointments to the Biped Advisory Board. We have the mayor is appointing Kip Beckwith and Christopher Pesci to serve terms ending September 30th, 2022 and September 30th, 2023, respectively. So with that, I would need a motion from any council members to make those appointments. Miss Cheryl.
I'm happy to make those motions, and I'm thankful that community members are willing to serve and give their time for these type of committees.
Completely agree. Very thankful that we have people who can dedicate the time and energy to advise us on how to move ahead with some important transportation and non-motorized transportation issues. So with that, Michelle, can we get roll call vote, please?
Yes. Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Masika,
Yes.
and that's 9 yes.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. So that will be on our consent agenda. And moving right along, we have item number 3.2, wastewater main influent pump upgrade project, phase 2. And Jean, are you joining us? Or Don? Jean. Jean, you're muted. Let me see if I can.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't get my phone to work, so I borrowed Jean's phone.
Oh,
My name is Don Schmidt. I'm the operations manager here at the wastewater plant. And regarding the item, we're requesting approval for the purchase of 2 influent pumps for $109,026. And this is a CIP tagged item out of the wastewater enterprise fund.
And Don, we already purchased one, right? This is the second?
That's correct. We were having difficulty with the 3 original pumps, and Morrison and Mayor Lee identified the pumps as requiring replacement. So last fall, you approved the purchase of 1 pump, which was installed, and we've tested it over 60 days now. We're satisfied with the performance on the pump, and we're requesting the purchase of the 2 remaining pumps. So we have a full set.
Great. And this should last for, I think it's about, is it 10 years that it's the life expectancy of these pumps?
It's, yeah, a minimum of 10 years we should get out of these pumps.
Great. Okay. Are there any questions from council members? Okay. Would anyone like to make the motion? Amber.
I'm happy to make the recommended motion. Thanks.
Great. We have a motion on the floor. I am going to take some public comment if we have any. I don't see any public in our attendee list. So could we have a roll call vote, please?
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
That is 9 yeses.
Great. So this will be on our consent agenda. Dawn, thank you so much for bringing this before council. And I think it's always important to make sure that our facilities are working the way they should, especially with the increase in development and more people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, next we have a professional services agreement with Morrison Murley for the North 2nd Street water main replacement. And is Ross?
Ross isn't here, but I'm here in his place. So this is, thanks for having me. This is Andy Schultz. I'm with the Public Works Department, utility engineer. So Ross and I have been collaborating pretty closely on getting these projects off the ground. So we've got a number of them that are on the agenda today. So I thought I would just cover them. So just a real brief overview about kind of all of them. So these are, we're looking to hire engineer firms to do the design on replacements of these water mains that have been on our CIP list for some time. And they've been identified as needing to be replaced based on their age, the material type, and an ongoing leak study that we've been doing around town. We've spread these projects across 3 different engineering firms here in town that have been pre-qualified through an RFP process. So all these projects, the funding will come out of the Water Enterprise Fund. Nothing will come out of the general fund. So, and it's a lot of projects, and our kind of intent with this is this year we found that we got really good pricing when it came to construction. So we're hoping that that continues into next year. So we have a few more projects on the in the design phase than what we probably actually will construct, but that way we'll have some projects on the shelf so that if we do get good pricing, we can jump and get some of these other projects ready to go because they'll be already designed. So on this first one, this North 2nd Avenue, I think we submitted some maps to look at. I don't know if we can bring those up just to give you guys a visual. But if not, this is a project that runs along North 2nd Avenue from Orange Street east to a 20-inch water main where it crosses MRL tracks. This is a Calamine water main. It's a older type of water main that we've seen a lot of leaking in. And in addition, it's been identified as needing to be replaced based on the water facilities master plan that was done, because it needs to be upsized to meet the growing needs of Missoula. So for this project, the design and construction admin costs came in at $118,659.
Great, thank you. Yeah, there's a map that's linked to all the different referrals. So if anyone wants to see them, that's available. Should we vote on all of them at once? Would that make it easier, or should we go one by one? Asking, I guess, of Michelle or...
What, one by one is easier for us.
Okay, so let's just do that. Okay, so for the first one, that's for the North 2nd Street main replacement project. I'm looking for someone to make the motion. Ms. Harp, or do you have a question?
Sorry, I had a question for Andy for 3rd Street in particular. So do you want me to just answering or asking that question?
If we're not on that right now, I would ask that you hold it until we get to that one. Okay, so Gwen.
I'm happy to make the motion.
Thank you. I see that we have one person on the attendee, and I will take public comment on this item. Caller, do you have a comment on this item that we are about to vote on, or are you here for a different item?
No, hi, Mirta. This is Dennis Bowman. I had to call in because I don't have a Zoom invite, so pardon for the interruption.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can try to send you one if that makes it easier. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so no public comment. Let's have a roll call vote on this item, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
and that is 9 yeses.
Great. Next then is another water main replacement for 3rd Street.
All right. So this one is going to Territorial Landworks as an engineering firm. The project will be on 3rd Street. It'll run basically from it's just west of Higgins. It'll start at Myrtle and it'll run to Orange Street. Again, this is another Calamine water main that's older and leaking. This project was prompted by a plan by the city to install new crosswalks at the intersection of 3rd and Myrtle. That is going to happen next spring. So we wanted to get out ahead of that project and get our old main out of the way, at least out of that intersection, before that project happened, and we have new asphalt on the ground. But we took it as an opportunity to extend further to the west to Orange Street to get rid of all the Calamine that's in 3rd Street there, and it kind of piggybacks on the 3rd Street project we did this year, which was on the west side of Orange Street. So we'll have all new water main down 3rd Street. The cost of this for construction and design, or design and construction admin, is $72,435.
Great. Heather? You
Thanks.
had a question? Yep.
So I guess this question kind of applies to all the projects, but in particular, when I think about Third Street and in the Higgins Street renovation of the bridge, how do you tie this work into that work with MDT so that hopefully we can reduce as much headache for those particular neighbors?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of construction going on down on Higgins, and so I think we will be going on. Our project will be going on at the same time as that Higgins Street bridge work. But I do think that we have enough capacity to get some detours around that area. That Third Street isn't super heavily traveled, and so I think the timing of the project is important for us to be able to get that in. Whether Higgins is going on or not, to get it in before that crossing at Myrtle and Third happens. Does that answer your
Good. All right. Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, do you know if there are any road street improvements or anything like that in any of the places where the mains are being replaced, and coordination with the streets department? I know you guys always do, but I'm just curious to know if there's anything in particular that people might want to be aware of.
Yeah, so this one in particular, just at that one intersection, and then also on the Shakespeare, the upcoming project we'll talk about here, we're collaborating with Brian on Shakespeare. And then we have a couple of projects that we're doing some in-house design on, where us utility engineers will do the design, but we're collaborating with Brian Hensel and the street departments to get those repaved as well.
Great. Yeah, I think it's efficient for everyone. Okay, Heather, your hand is up, and I'm not sure if it's from before or now.
I was just going to follow up with making the recommended motion.
Great. I also see, oh, Gwen, I think you were probably going to make that motion, or? Okay. Great. So we have a motion on the floor, and I am going to quickly see if we have any public. And I don't see anyone to take public comment on this item, so let's have a roll call vote, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Santos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Basika,
Yes.
and that's 9 yeses.
Great. So that will also be on our consent agenda. The next one is Main Street.
All right. So this one is for Morris and Merrily. It's just a single block on Main Street from Higgins to Patty. Here it's a 6-inch steel water main. The mains on either side of this one block have been replaced in the past. This is a complicated project with a lot of other utility conflicts. So that's why it hasn't been completed in the past. We felt like the time was right now, though, with a bunch of the construction in that area starting to wrap up. So there was the opportunity to kind of get in there as the construction is wrapping up, but not totally complete. So people are still used to a little bit of disturbance in that area. But what we didn't want to have happen is have all this new infrastructure in place and then have that water main fail and have to dig up the street to do a repair. So we're looking at starting, we won't actually affect Higgins. We'll stop before we get to Higgins on Main Street and run over to Patty. So Higgins to Patty. And the cost for this project, design and construction admin, is $53,148.
Great. Heather.
Andy, I'm just curious that we're replacing enough of the main downtown on that particular block. Was there any particular reason why you didn't go any further east, for example, or west?
Yeah, so those have been replaced relatively recently. So yeah, this was the only block that hadn't been recently replaced.
Okay, thanks. I'm happy to make this recommended motion as well, Marta.
Great. Okay, so we have a motion, no more questions, and no public to provide comments. So let's have a roll call vote, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vasika.
Yes.
That is 9 yeses.
Great. So this will be on the consent agenda too. And next we have another water main replacement for Cooley and Stoddard Streets.
Yep. So this is for WGM Group. It's a total of 7 blocks. This one's a little bit more difficult to explain, but it's on Cooley Street, starting at Burns Street to Bulwer, and then south on Bulwer to Stoddard, and then along Stoddard from Burns Street to Burton, and then south along Burton. So it's a total of seven blocks. It's all 6-inch steel invasion pipe, which is a really thin pipe that we've had a lot of leaking issues with. And it does have some leak history where we've had to do some repairs. This project was prompted by the Trinity Cooley project that's right there on the corner of Burns Street and Stoddard and Cooley. As part of that project, they're doing some right-of-way improvements, which includes half street reconstruction. So we wanted to take the opportunity to replace the main while they were doing that work along that block. But when we started looking at the project, it grew because these 7 blocks are the only blocks where that 6-inch steel invasion pipe exists in that neighborhood. So this gives us a chance to get the design in place to get all that removed while kind of piggybacking on the Trinity project out there. So the total cost for design and construction and administration for the 7 blocks of main is $153,413.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you if the Trinity project is what prompted this one replacement. So it sounds like it's a good opportunity to get that done.
Yep.
Heather?
Andy, I was just going to make sure I have the right space. Is that empty field, what is now an empty field with where we had a whole mobile park? Is that in amongst this particular 7-block series?
So is that the Trinity Cooley site? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure either.
I think it is.
I think that is the Trinity Cooley site. Yeah. So I think
Okay.
that's where the project begins. I think that's what you're referring to.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I'm in the right place.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm happy to make the recommended motion on this as well.
Great. We're on a roll here, huh? Okay, so we have a motion, no public comment. So let's take a roll call vote, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
and we are 9 yeses.
Great. Thank you. So that will be on the consent agenda. And our last water main replacement project is for Shakespeare Street.
Yep, we're almost there. So this is a smaller project. It's again for WGM Group. It's just over a block of water main. It's along Shakespeare, just north of Phillips. So that 1 block north of Phillips. Again, this is 6-inch Calamine, and the road is in really rough condition. And it's the main access road that Mountain Line uses to get back to their facilities. So the streets department has plans to try to pave that section of the street to improve it. It's in dire need. So we're just taking this opportunity to to replace that Calamine pipe before paving and work with streets to get that paved as one project. So design and construction admin for this project is $41,306.
So is this pretty close to the Mountain Line depot?
Yep, exactly. Yep, it's the route they take back down to their depot. Yep.
I've heard that's in part why the streets are in poor condition, because
Yeah, it might be.
it gets a lot of heavy traffic. Great. Any questions from council, or would anyone like to make the recommended motion? Amber.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Great. And Heather.
I was going to make the recommended motion, but just wanted to point out too that this is the block directly north of Lowell School as well. So I'm sure this will kind of impact kids walking to school, just to kind of be aware of that when that happens.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see anyone from the public, so let's take a roll call vote on this one, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
And we are 9 yeses.
Great. Thank you, Andy, for all the presentations and information, and this too will be on the consent agenda.
Thank you to you guys as well. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so next on our agenda is a resolution establishing water development fees and amending the sewer development fees, and an ordinance amending Missoula Municipal Code 13.02.140, and Dennis is here to present.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Dennis Bowman. I'm Deputy Public Works Director for the Utilities. Sorry for being late to the meeting. I'm pretty sure Andy covered most of this on his presentation, but everything that he presented and also what Don presented comes out of the enterprise funds. So this is a great opportunity to improve the water system and sewer system. So this resolution is establishing water development fees and amending the utility rate schedule, and amending the sewer development fees and the ordinance amending Missoula Municipal Code 13.02.140. The recommended motion is I move the City Council motion for October 19th, 2020, first reading and preliminary adoption. Set a public hearing for November 16th, 2020 to preliminarily adopt a resolution establishing water development fees and amending the sewer development fees and amending the utility rate schedule, and an ordinance amending MMC Chapter 13.02 entitled Municipal Utility Rates and Charges by amending Section 13.02.140 to rename this section from sewer development fees to utility development fees and include language explaining the two utility development fees. I have with us today is our consultants from FCS, Melanie Hobart and Angie Sanchez, and they would like to give a presentation of what they worked through and why we need these development fees. So I'll turn it over to Melanie.
All right, thank you, Dennis. I'm going to share my screen so you can see I'm going to hopefully share my screen so you can see the presentation we put together for you. Here we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about your system development fees. We have been working with staff for several months to come up with all the details behind these. So we want to walk you through the results that we have come up with. All right, so today we're going to start just really quickly reorient you to the scope of the larger project. we have been working on a comprehensive 3 utility rate study. So you've seen us before, and we will be back, hopefully. Today, we're going to talk about the system development fees. We're going to cover methodology first, and then we're going to talk about the fees we develop for sewer, water, and also stormwater. All right, so what is a system development fee? The system development fee, or an SDF, is a one-time charge, and it's charged when a new or redeveloped property connects to the utility. So a home, a business, one-time charge. The charge represents the charge represents the value of the system capacity that the new connections will utilize. It's realizing that having the capacity available to serve new connections costs the utility and its existing customers money. Very important, these fees are restricted. They are based on only growth and expansion related capital projects, and they can only be used for growth and expansion related capital projects. Okay, so quickly, methodology. On a very high level, an SDF is a simple equation of the value of the system divided by the number of users. There's a lot more detail that goes into it. And on a high level, we split it into existing and future. So the existing system, that top left in the equation there, that is the value of the assets at original cost for each utility. We do take a couple things out. We take out anything that was donated or contributed. So a developer put in water mains, the value of those water mains is removed from the existing system asset value. We also take out outstanding debt principal. We do that because outstanding debt principal is something that any customer is going to pay once they're connected to the system. So including it in rates once they're connected and including it as part of the cost basis would be double counting that value. So we pull that out. Future capacity, that includes all growth and expansion related portions of the capital plan. So we combed through your capital plan and we identified not only which projects are growth and expansion related, but potentially which portion of projects are growth and expansion related, serving only new customers. And those are the portions that are included here. Capacity, the denominator, is based on your existing customers plus your future customer growth. And that's projected through 2037 in this case. The existing system value is divided by the total existing and future customers. What you have in the ground today is going to serve your customers today and your customers in the future. Your future system, your future capacity, that's only divided by your future customers. So we're tying that expansion related portion of projects to just that expansion related capacity of those new customers. Very importantly, the fee that this results in is a maximum. So this is the maximum legal amount you can set per unit. The city can, however, set a policy to adopt a charge below the maximum. Okay, let's dive in. First, we're going to look at sewer. So for sewer, you can see here that same equation. You've got on the left-hand side of the equation, 110 million of existing cost, original cost of your existing system, excuse me, over about 35,500 capacity units. The capacity unit is the basis that your fee is applied in. The future portion, you've got about 10.6 million of future expansion related capital over just that growth, just the growth portion of your capacity unit. So just under 12,000. Those together, they come out to 4,088 per capacity unit. There is an important nuance here. Your existing fee is based on a 5/8 inch water meter and scales up. The city is no longer offering 5/8 inch meter connections. So when we compare this new fee, we're going to actually compare it to the 3/4 inch fee in your existing structure of 2,100. So the new proposed fee schedule is there on the bottom right, starting with that 3/4 inch base of one capacity unit. All right, before we dive into the water, I want to take a step up and talk about one of the big nuances with the water system. The system was purchased using debt in 2017. Remember when I said that we take out debt principal? In this case, we're removing that whole portion of your system from the existing cost basis because any new customers are going to be paying that debt service, which just started this past fiscal year. So the existing cost basis in this case includes any investments the city has made starting from 2018 through 2020. So those 3 years of investments comes out to about 10.3 million. That's your existing cost basis. And there's no change to the future cost basis. It's all of the expansion related capital from 2021 forward. All right, so for water, we have that 10.3 million of existing cost basis over about just under 31,000 meter capacity equivalents. The existing portion of the fee is $302. The future portion, 12.7 million of future capital, over 6,400 MCEs. Together, this comes out to 2,222 per MCE. One MCE is equivalent to a 3/4 inch water meter. Again, no longer offering 5/8 meter connections, and it scales up from there. And the reason this one is lower is really largely related to that existing portion, which only includes those 3 years of investment in the system. Okay. Last one we prepared was the stormwater fee. Before we dive into it, I want to take a minute to reorient you to the stormwater rate structure. If you recall, it is based on the Institute of Traffic Engineers trip generation metric, which estimates the average daily trips to any property. It's based on the land use of that property. So residential overall, they're charged 9.45 or they're assumed 9.45 average daily trips per unit, per dwelling unit. In your system, based on the customer data, your average commercial account has 119 trips. So those are kind of the bases we're using there. All right. So stormwater, we have, again, the existing portion, about 18.7 million in existing costs, over much higher denominator, 750,000 trips. We've got the future portion, which is 3.1 of expansion related capital, over 117, just under 117,000 trips. It comes out to 5103 per trip. This fee is calculated per trip. It's applied similar to your rate structure based on the estimated average daily trips for each property. So in this case, the single family residential fee would be 482. And the average commercial fee, that 119 trips, would be 6,062. All right. So what does this mean for your customers altogether? When they build a new home, they're not connecting to one, they're likely connecting to all three. For a new single family home with a 3/4 inch water meter, it would be a maximum fee of 6,792 to connect to all three of the utilities together. For a commercial, your average commercial account, we're assuming a 2-inch water meter and 119 daily trips. It comes out to 45,637. These would vary depending on meter size, trips, etc. All right. A lot of detail in there. So if you have any questions, the kind of high-level summary, we just walked through the 3 different Cs. They would go into effect if adopted in January, and they are 4,088 per capacity unit for sewer, 2,222 per MCE for water, and 5,103 per trip for stormwater. So that's what we covered today. We'll be back to update some cash flows and rate analyses in the future, hopefully. But I want to open it up for any questions, as I know I just covered a lot of information.
Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate it. I'd like to add a couple things, if that's okay, Mirta.
Yes, Dennis, go ahead.
So that was a good starting point that FCS has done for us. I know I mentioned some dates in that at the beginning of the reading. But before we change any of the dates as a proposal, I would like to hear everything from the council, what they think. It is a big balance act that I have to do associated with the utilities, because the biggest thing on my mind is affordable housing. I understand this is going to be a big impact because of affordable housing. But the other hand, I got to look at is that with the little over 23,000 customers we have, I got to look at the affordable living for the current customers, because we only have one pool of money for the utilities. It's an enterprise fund. So we can turn around and do these improvements because of growth, which we already have some this year that we're doing out of our enterprise fund. But then we have to back off on our main replacements. You can see what we're trying to do that Andy submitted. We're going to have to reduce that. If we don't have these type of rates in place or some type of fee structure in place, we're going to have to reduce, which I prefer not to do that, but that'll be up to the council's decision. Or it could also be the option is that we have to look at everything together when FCS brings back to us of what they think the water rate structure should be and what the water rate fee should be. So it could end up being here, if we can get these adopted, and that could be only a 2 or 3% increase to the water rates in a couple of years or a year, or it could end up being 16 to 18% increase. So like I said, it's a balance act of trying to have affordable housing, but also on my part is I'm looking at affordable living for the current customers. So, but I would like to, before we proceed too much farther, I'd like to hear some of the questions from the council members, and then we'll go ahead and answer them. And then I'll make a recommended motion at the end, what I would like to do.
Sounds good, Dennis. You're right. It is a balancing act. I think one way or another, we have to ensure that we have the financial means to continue to have our systems work properly. And that's going to be either paid by a fee by the developer or by the current customers in one form or another. So it's a tough balancing act. Heather, your hand's up.
Yep, today is my day for questions, Martha. I apologize. I've been kind of taken over today in your committee. Dennis, I really want to say thank you very much for really pointing out the balancing act of trying to make sure we take into account our future needs as well as not, I guess, pass along undue burdens to a lot of folks. And we know a lot of folks are hurting today. And along those lines, Melanie, one of the key components of this presentation on the stormwater trip generation background, I think this is an area that we've had a couple of people talk about in the past, like why does single family housing units end up paying a greater percentage than the other categories? And I don't know, maybe you said this before in presentations in the past, but I have forgotten. So if you could really kind of explain to us why single family housing has a higher trip rate than an apartment or a townhouse, or what's the other one, condos, and why that translates to a higher cost. Because I think this is part of the environmental cost that we as a council have to be very much aware of when we are trying to vote on projects that come before this body that are trying to make sure that we keep things affordable. And I think this is something that folks really need to understand, myself mostly included, or definitely included.
All right, thank you for that question. The way that the trip generation is done is it's studied. They take individual sites and they study the number of average trips, a time that a person comes or goes from their home. It includes the mailman, it includes a kid going to school or somebody coming from work or running to the grocery store and back. And I think that the reason, and I would want to look into this more, single family homes on average have a higher number of people living in them than a condo or an apartment. More people is going to equate to more trips. Just kind of a very basic level, more people coming and going about their own daily business. So the reason we use trips is because it's where you are with your local regulations, and state regulations, the main impact of the stormwater system really has to do with traffic. It has to do with driving. It has to do with kind of the impact on roads. So that's why your system is, we had long conversations about this when we developed the rate structure. We decided it was a good fit specifically for Missoula because of those things. So when you're looking at daily trips, more people in the home are gonna likely equal more average trips per household. Does that help?
It
So-
does, Melanie.
So Melanie, that's to say that, for example, at a single family home, if you have someone doing roof work or electrical work in your house, all those trips are considered in that equation, correct? If you have someone coming to fix something, whatnot.
That's right. Yep. It's all trips to the property, not necessarily by the property owners.
Yeah.
So the classic example, that would be a great one. If somebody coming to do construction, your mailman every day counts as a trip if they come and drop your mail off. So it's not just the people who live there. It's all the trips generated by the activity in the home and necessary.
Great. Any other questions? This is a time to ask all the questions so that we can then have Dennis present us with some options to consider. Anyone else? Stacy.
Well, I guess, Mr. Bowman asked for our opinions on this, and, as many of you and he pointed out, it is a balancing act. And I do think it's easy for developers to decry, fees are the main, reason that we don't have affordable housing in Missoula. And I don't believe that to be the case when you look at land prices, construction prices, and I went to a great presentation put on by the League of the League of Women, and with a couple other council members, it really broke down what goes into affordable housing and all the various components. When you purchase a home, the fees to build the home are fixed into it, and so you have a fixed cost with that mortgage. When you have water usage, it is somewhat dependent upon use, but there's also the fee to it as well. And so I want to balance that, because those are, your mortgage is fixed, that when you make your family's budget, the water increases and all the other fees that in day-to-day life increase, that is what is really has a squeezing effect on so many of our families, and the wages not keeping up, and all of that interconnected. So, this is a cost that does get passed on to the homeowner in the price of the home. I understand how that works, but I really want to keep rates, those day-to-day, month-to-month rates, as low as possible for folks in our community. To ask for our thoughts on that, I am giving you my thoughts. And so I would be, I think that we have demonstrated incredible value for acquiring the water system, and what you have been able to do and keep rates lower than what they were when we first acquired it. And that's great. But, we need to continue that and continue that level of service, and that does cost. So.
Thank you. Heather.
Dennis, you are the professional in this room when it comes down to what you know is ahead of you come next year. And I value that judgment a great deal. The that are proposed, do you think that those are reasonable for you to be able to continue to conduct the work that you need to do, while still being somewhat reasonable to the end user and development fees? Do these terrify you otherwise, or are they too low for what you need to get done going forward?
Thanks, Heather. Yes, well, I think they're reasonable in the way of those are the maximum charges. I feel we've done an outstanding job, and I say we, and that's all the council members and all the staff at the city of of really working on our efficiency and expenditures for the utilities. We really cut back. We really worked on a lot of stuff. I am going to propose that let me come back, we reschedule for next Wednesday, and let me come back with what my viewpoint is, what we need to do, and looking at the crystal ball, what this community needs in the next 3, 5, or 25 years. And make it reasonable, not only to the developers, but at the same time, try to keep it very reasonable to our ratepayers, our current customers. You know, we've done an outstanding job, like you've all said. We've been able to keep the rates, the reduced rates since the city took over, even though the council voted in April of 2014 to the rates 6% higher. We've been able to do that. I'm pretty fortunate. I know information since I worked with Mountain Water. I know what they were planning on doing. As everybody knows, they go through rate increases every 2 years, which is understandable when you're a privately owned company and you're allowed to make up to 10% return on your investment. I know what the potential plan was for rate increases to this community if the previous owners kept it. So since the city kept the rates low, I did a quick calculation looking at all the consumption and all the billing we've done in the last 3 years to the customers and applied those potential rate increases if the Public Service Commission would have accepted it and audited it. This community has saved $5.4 million. So it's a big deal.
Thank you, Dennis. Heather, anything else?
I was just going to say, do you need a recommended motion to set the public hearings, or do you want to wait until next year or next week after Dennis comes back?
I think we need a motion, correct? And then, but between now and when we have to take final action, Dennis, you'll come back with some scenarios based on what you heard today.
That's correct. I'll come back with at least a minimum of 3 different options to present to the committee, and then we can work through what best options work out for everybody.
That sounds great. Martha,
Okay.
I'm happy to make the recommended motion on this for you.
Great. So we have a motion. I will double check. No one from the public. Any questions or final comments on the recommended motion by council members? No? Okay. Dennis, thank you. My 2 cents on this is that, as you mentioned, the water main replacements are an important component of keeping our infrastructure functioning the way it should. And in order for us to do that, we need to have that revenue. And it's either going to come from new development, which seems appropriate because that is associated to the new added pressure on the systems, as opposed to spreading it to current customers. And you know, we're legally bound to do that also. We need to replace those mains, reduce the leakage that we have in the city. And then, as you mentioned, the presentation today was for maximum fees. So I think that now you can look at different scenarios and how we can meet the demands that we have based on the information that you now have from Melanie. So I wish you luck on those numbers and balancing everything that you need to balance, but it's appreciated, and we look forward to having that those potential scenarios and different paths that we can decide on.
Yep, thank you very much.
So let's take a roll call vote, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
That is 9 yeses.
Great. Thank you, Melanie and Angie and Dennis, for bringing this forward. And it'll be on our consent agenda for the 19th.
Thank you.
And so that was our last item on the agenda. So if there are no final comments from council members, we would be adjourned. Okay, thank you.